picked these because I'm going to put them in a container with some bright colored peppers. Hi, well, we're here in the middle of August and there are not a lot of flowers around, so I thought I'd come up to my dump and see what kind of things were up here. And I happen to have this wonderful big squashy gourd thing growing, and I think I'll try this in a shallow container with maybe some flowers. Now I'm going to try pulling this thing up. It wants to attach itself to every piece of grass around, so we're going to gently unhook it. You see those little gourds here? I think this will look great in a container. So I really don't have any real plan in mind, except that I was looking for a vine. So this one will sort of work as a vine, but it's got the added interest of the squash attached. Let's see if I can find another piece. The fields are going to get mowed in a week or so, so I thought maybe taking advantage of this is so they don't get mowed over and make them look nice in the house. I like this one because it's got a couple of flowers attached to it that are still good. So we're gonna head over to my dahlia patch. I like these dahlias because some are big and bright and some aren't. When there's not much left, the dahlias are really good for a little bit of color in your house. I don't need real long stems because I'm thinking about floating these in some water, maybe with those gourds. I like odd numbers, and that's why I'm looking for a third one. I may end up putting a couple of these together instead, and then I won't have to come back. I'm looking for a big one that could go in a bowl with a big leaf. I'm going to take this one, I think, because it's the one that seems like it's the freshest. You can always pull a few things off in the back if you don't like them. I've got a good assortment now of things of the flower part, so combined with some of the things I bought at the farmer's market this morning, I ought to do all right. I do need a couple of speckled leaves that I have in another spot, so I'm going to go get those now. You can see how dry everything is. I was going to use these speckled sort of calla lily leaves, but I kind of think these calla lilies are prettier. So I'm thinking maybe I'll take one of these fresher ones and try and use it in an arrangement. That'd be pretty with that pale colored dahlia. I think this will work nicely. Okay, so we have the flowers from the farmer's market, which we've had conditioning for a couple of hours. And we have the flowers and leaves and greens from the garden, which we've also let condition for a while, as well as the squash that we have in another bucket, which I'll show you in a few minutes. So the first thing I'm going to do is try and do a floating arrangement in this big round container. What I mean by floating is that flowers don't always have to be in a vase with a lot of water. They can be resting on the top of water. Some flowers work underwater as well, and I'm going to show you what dahlias can do. They like to sit on top of the water, although I have used them in other arrangements where they're underwater. So I'm taking this vine that we got up in my dump patch. I'm going to take the piece with the gourds first because that's what you'll see. And we're going to try and swirl that around here, making sure that the ends stay in the water. I think I'm going to trim this down to about here. I'll give this a fresh cut. Now what I'd like to do is get those arranged. And I'm trying that. Usually you do things in threes, so I'm thinking that maybe, and I'm not crazy about that match, so I'm thinking that these probably will do better someplace else, and that three, like this, would work better. Yeah, I kind of like that. So I'm going to cut the stems pretty short. You can see I'm going to just enough so they can still get some water. And not be seen. So it makes a difference. But these flowers are so pretty by themselves that I make sure that stem is down so it'll be in the water when I get this in place. And this one over here. I think this container can get heavy and it's hard to move with a lot of water in it. So I think what I'll do is put it in place and then use a pitcher to fill up the bowl with water. And now I'm just going to add some water to our platter, just enough to make sure both of the stem ends are in water. And you see that dahlia went off and floated by itself. How about that? It's going to find a place to go on its own. So I'm just going to add enough water to make sure all the ends get some water. Let's see how this little dahlia wants to float all by itself. Check and see there's enough water under here. Yep. There we go. And no one would know that it's the end of the season and I took my vines out of a trash pile, basically. And you can see that after an hour, everything is sort of perked up and it's gotten plenty of water, and so it's feeling very happy. I bet my guests will love this. Did you see how pretty it looks with all the food out and the wine glasses, and we're ready to go, just waiting for our guests.